You feel an exhaustion that runs deeper than mere fatigue, a quiet dread when conversations turn ideological, and a resistance to considering new information. It's the sensation of an internal boundary, not a choice, closing in around you. Not a choice closing in around. This isn't just the tiredness of a long day, or the natural discomfort of complex topics. There's a deeper cost here, a constant, low-level internal conflict that saps your cognitive resources without you even realizing why. You find yourself automatically rejecting ideas before they're fully articulated. Not because they're wrong, but because admitting they might be right feels like a threat to something fundamental within you. This isn't merely intellectual disagreement. It's an internal battle where the stakes feel existentially high, draining you from the inside out, making you feel perpetually on guard. This isn't just fatigue, it's a system at work. That system leverages something far more potent than mere opinion. It operates by drawing a direct, undeniable line between what you believe and who you carry. This isn't about policy or a political platform you intellectually endorse. It's a strategic fusion that has quietly taken root within your self-concept. You didn't consciously choose for your political alignment to become a core component of your personal integrity, but the operant conditioning ensures it feels precisely that way. Any challenge to a specific stance then registers not as a difference of opinion, but as a direct assault on your very identity, on your fundamental sense of self-worth. This isn't an accident. It's an engineered bypass. The installation of this bypass begins subtly, almost imperceptibly. It's a mechanism of identity fortification, where your political alignment is presented as an upgrade to your self-concept, a badge of belonging within a designated tribe. You're offered a clear set of values, a ready-made community, and a defined worldview, all tied to the political banner. The perceived benefits of this group identity, validation, safety in numbers, a shared moral high ground, are immense, forming an unspoken contract. To challenge the group's dogma becomes tantamount to self-exile, to severing a vital connection. This social reinforcement hardens the internal boundary, making departure feel like a profound personal loss, not a mere intellectual adjustment. The system knows exactly how to make you want to be assimilated. This assimilation is reinforced through precise tribal signaling. It starts with shared language, a specific lexicon of terms, slogans, and euphemisms that instantly identify insiders and outsiders. Then designated enemies are identified and amplified, providing a common adversary around which the group can coalesce, strengthening internal bonds through external opposition. Finally, there's the curated information diet, a carefully filtered flow of media, analysis, and narratives designed to confirm the existing worldview and delegitimize anything that contradicts it. These elements combine to construct an impenetrable fortress around this fused identity, where information isn't evaluated on its merits, but rather on its alignment with the pre-approved narrative. And once that fortress is built, it dictates what you can even allow yourself to see. You're led to believe this is merely how information ecosystems function, a natural part of modern civic discourse. You perceive yourself as engaged, informed, and actively participating in the marketplace of ideas. But this is the head fake. The true mechanism isn't just about outfiltering the information you receive. It's about rewiring how your internal operating system processes it. You believe you're evaluating data, weighing arguments, and forming conclusions, but the system has recalibrated your fundamental response. Any challenge to the group's narrative, any contradictory evidence, is no longer processed as objective data points. Instead, it triggers an immediate visceral self-defense response, because it has been programmed to perceive such input as a direct attack on who you are. The true cost is far more fundamental than simple persuasion. This recalibration means your internal architecture is now locked into a specific defensive posture. When presented with information that conflicts with your fortified identity, your system doesn't engage in analysis. It executes a pre-programmed rejection. Imagine your mind as a hardened firewall that, instead of sifting threats, simply incinerates anything that doesn't originate from within its approved network. This isn't conscious choice. It's an autonomic reflex, a hardwired circuit. You find yourself dismissing facts, questioning motives, or resorting to ad hominem attacks, not because you've logically disproven the argument, but because your internal system has flagged it as an existential threat. Your internal system is now locked into a self-preservation loop, overriding its core function. The urgent cost of this hijacked internal operating system is its catastrophic inability to adapt. The world outside is accelerating, demanding constant recalibration, rapid integration of new data, and an agile mind capable of fluidly navigating complexity. Yet, your system is now static, rigid, designed for defense rather than growth. It's like trying to run advanced AI on a decades-old mainframe, where any new input causes a system crash or an immediate rejection protocol. This isn't merely about holding outdated views. It's about a fundamental vulnerability, a critical latency in your capacity to process new realities. This compromised architecture leaves you profoundly unequipped for the demands of a rapidly shifting present. This isn't just about being wrong. It's about becoming inert at the precise moment agility is paramount. This systemic calcification leaves you increasingly isolated from novel information, from diverse perspectives, and from your own capacity for independent, critical thought. The very thing that promises belonging and intellectual clarity has, in fact, locked you into a feedback loop of your own making, built by external architects. You're left with the exhaustion, the dread, and the profound sense that something fundamental has been usurped, all while believing you are fiercely protecting your integrity. The world shifts, paradigms fracture, and critical updates become available, but your operating system, hardened by design, cannot download them. The system that feels like protection has in fact rendered you critically exposed. The silent truth is that your political identity, once perhaps a mere alignment of principles, has been weaponized. It has become a parasitic attachment, not simply influencing your thoughts, but fundamentally compromising the architectural integrity of your internal operating system. You are not experiencing normal disagreement. You are experiencing the systemic cost of an identity that has been strategically fused with an external agenda. This isn't about changing your mind on a single issue. It's about recognizing the deep-seated subversion of your cognitive autonomy itself. Your capacity to process reality, to adapt, to evolve, has been quietly usurped. The question then becomes, how do you reclaim the architecture of your own mind? Opposed to new ideas, you are contained by existing ones. This containment is engineered through what we'll call the identity fortification sequence. It begins with the precise orchestration of shared language, a vocabulary designed to delineate the in-group and the out-group. Words become internal flags, not for meaning, but for allegiance. Any information presented outside this pre-approved lexicon is instinctively flagged as hostile. Your operating system is conditioned to filter for threat, not truth. This creates an impenetrable fortress around your fused identity, where the primary directive is self-preservation, not objective analysis. You become a node in a larger network, hardwired for defense. This fortress is reinforced by a constant stream of curated information and the identification of common adversaries. Your internal architecture is fed a diet of approved narratives, pre-digested and pre-justified. Any external data that contradicts the established position is not merely debated, it's perceived as an attack from the designated enemy. The system is designed to trigger a defensive reflex, a hardening of the internal walls whenever dissenting information appears. You are engaging in what feels like civic discourse, but in reality, your internal processor has been rewired to perceive any challenge to the narrative as a direct assault on the fundamental integrity of who you are. This isn't argument. It's an automated counter-assault. This brings us to the critical pivot point. The moment contradictory evidence enters your field, because your political stance has been fused with your self-concept, that data is no longer processed as objective information. It registers as an existential threat. Your autonomic nervous system responds. The subtle tightening in your chest, the spike of indignation, the visceral need to shut down the source. This is not a cognitive response. It's a biological one, hijacked by an external system. Your internal defense mechanisms, designed for physical threats, are now deployed against intellectual challenges. The system has installed a bypass, rerouting all logical processing into a fight or flight sequence. The urgent cost of this hijacked internal operating system is its catastrophic inability to integrate vital, rapidly evolving information. Your architecture, locked into a defensive posture, becomes static, calcified. As the world accelerates, As data shifts and new realities emerge daily, your internal system lags critically behind. You are operating with outdated protocols in an environment demanding constant, agile recalibration. This isn't just a political vulnerability, it's a foundational compromise that affects your ability to adapt, innovate, and even perceive the changing contours of your immediate environment. You become increasingly brittle in a world that demands fluidity. To reclaim the autonomy of your internal architecture, we must implement a cognitive detachment protocol. This is not about abandoning your principles, but about performing an architectural upgrade, separating I want disbelief from I hold disbelief. This precise disengagement allows you to process new information without triggering that hardwired self-defense response. It creates a critical internal firewall, allowing you to evaluate data objectively, to integrate novel perspectives, and to recalibrate your stance based on current, unfettered intelligence rather than pre-programmed loyalty. This is the mechanism for agility in an accelerating world. The protocol involves 3 tactical steps. First, identify the emotional trigger. When you feel that visceral tightening, that urge to defend, recognize it as an external signal, not an internal truth. Second, perform a mental relabeling. Consciously shift from I am on attack to a position I hold is being challenged. This creates an immediate internal distance. Third, introduce a data-first directive. Prior to any defense, demand the raw input. Force yourself to consider the information as data points, divorced from tribal affiliation. This architectural upgrade allows for objective data processing, making your internal operating system responsive and resilient. You entered this transmission feeling the quiet exhaustion of a system compromised from within. You leave with the blueprint to reclaim that architecture. This protocol is not about changing your mind. It's about regaining control over how your mind processes information. It arms you with the capacity to disengage from parasitic attachments, allowing your internal operating system to integrate vital updates, adapt to exponential change, and operate with true autonomy. The mechanism has been exposed. The countermeasure is now available. The choice to recalibrate your internal architecture, to re-establish sovereign command over your own processing, begins now.